and welcome to my review of the Canon EOS 5D Mark III. I'm Richard Luke of Richard Luke Photography. Check out my website richardlukephotography.com or like me on Facebook. Just have a search for Richard Luke Photography. I've enjoyed photography for about 10 years now. Been doing it professionally for the last 2. Predominantly my background is motorsports and automotive. I enjoy bits of wildlife, landscape, that kind of thing as well, just personal enjoyment. So now you know a little bit about me and what I do, let's talk about the Canon EOS 5D Mark III. This is the camera that I predominantly use, and basically the basic specs is it's got a 22.3 megapixel full frame sensor, it's got a fantastic ISO range, 6 frames per second shooting, 61-point autofocus system. In the autofocus system, intelligent subject tracking, there's about 6 modes on that, they can all be tweaked and things. Really solid, nice construction, weather sealed body, magnesium alloy, you know, really good good piece of kit, well balanced, a nice big screen on the back for reviewing your images, great universal Canon layout, which is, you know, if you've come from any of the Canon EOS range, you'll find that this is compatible. You know, you'll be able to pick this up, kind of have an idea what you're doing, just get up and running without having to worry too much about exactly what all the buttons do, because they're all pretty much laid out on all the Canon cameras, much of a muchness. What you find with the more pro end is you get more buttons, and all that allows you to do is switch between functions and tweak it and just get a little bit quicker without having to go into the menu systems. So that's really all it is. All the basic functions and everything are exactly the same on this as they are on any of the other cameras. The only difference is they're easier to tweak. You've got creative modes on this, whether you like it or not, they're there. I don't really use them, but you've got a HDR, high dynamic range exposure, which will basically take 3 or 5 or 7, however many pictures you tell it to take, and it'll expose for the shadows, it'll expose for the highlights, and it'll expose for anything in between. And what that'll then do is it'll merge it in camera, and you'll get one picture, basically, which has got all the shadows in detail, all the highlights in detail, and nothing's clipped off at either end, so there's nothing blown out and there's nothing too dark. You know, it can work well if it's done well. Personally, not a massive fan of the HDR look if it's overdone, but done right, fantastic, nothing wrong with it, great look. It'll do multi-shot exposure as well, in camera again, so you can basically, say for example you've seen the pictures most lately from the Olympics lately, from the snowboarding events perhaps, where they'll do the trick and you kind of get 6 shots maybe of the actual snowboarder going through the air and twisting, and you get like 6 pictures of that. Well, basically this camera will do that in camera without having to take 6 individual shots and then stitch them later on in layers in Photoshop. This will allow you to do it in one, so you can take the picture, take the picture, take the picture, and it'll multi-stack the exposures into one picture. Again, I haven't used it, but it's there if you need it. Quite handy, save you a little bit of post-processing time later on, should you wish to do that. So let's look at those specs in a little bit more detail. The sensor, basically, a full-frame sensor, and that means there's no crop factor. Basically, it's not the APS-C sized sensors that you get in the Canon 7D, the 70D, basically all the cameras aside from the 6D, the 5D Mark II, the 5D Mark III, the Canon 1DX, those kind of cameras. So basically, you get the full effect of what the camera was intended to do. Same with the lenses. It's more noticeable when you're shooting at the wide end, so like landscapes where you're shooting maybe with a 16 to 38mm lens, something like that, and basically you'll get the full width of the shot. What you'll find with a crop sensor is it's exactly that, where you've got this shot in full frame, with a crop sensor, that's pretty much all you're seeing. Same lens, same position, but you're only seeing this. What it is, it actually zooms in 1.6 times whatever your focal length is. So if you're at 100mm on full frame, that exact same lens, that exact same setup on an APS-C sensor would effectively give you a focal length of 160mm. There's plenty out there about the crop effect and things like that, and focal length multipliers and stuff. I know for Canons it's 1.6 times, so you know, you can do the math, you can have a look, you can go out there and spend hours researching it if you want, but take my word for it. It does zoom it in. So why then would you want a full frame sensor? Because ultimately, as a motorsports photographer, as a wildlife photographer, we're always searching for that extra reach. No matter what lens you've got on, it's never enough. You always want more. So why do we choose full frame over the APS-C? Well, for me, basically it's image quality, and that is to do with the tonal range, it's to do with the depth of field, the ISO control. All these factors really come into play with a full frame camera, and they're really noticeable. So for me, that is why I went with the full frame, along with the fact that the actual specs of the 5D Mark III were exactly what I was looking for from a camera, and it just happened to be full frame as well. It wasn't a case of, right, let's go out, we're going to buy a camera, it's got to be full frame. It wasn't like that. It was just purely and simply, we need a good camera, this is what it needs to do, this one ticks the boxes, and then some. So that's pretty much where I arrived at the decision myself to buy the 5D Mark III. The bonus is the sensor is 36 by 24, that's the same size as traditional film. Again, you know, for the reasons I've mentioned, full frame cameras just really do the business when it comes to your control on your depth of field and that kind of thing. The processor in the 5D Mark III is a Digic 5 Plus. Now this is a current sensor that Canon are putting in. It's in the latest Canon 70D, which is actually what this video is being recorded on. They've got two of the Digic 5 Pluses in the Canon 1DX, which is a fantastic camera. But over twice the price of the 5D Mark III. You know, you shop around, you can buy the Canon 5D Mark III for a little over £2,000. Sounds a lot of money for a camera only, but trust me, when I bought this 18 months ago, I'd have happily paid £2,000 for it. So there we go. The processor basically will allow you to take up to about 16,000 JPEGs in one burst, basically, continuously. And that is down to the processor. Obviously, you've got to have the right compact flash card in there with you know, the read speed and the write speed capable of taking it. But that's it. Basically, it will just allow you to keep taking and taking and taking, you know, without slowing down. And that is the processor. And again, when you're reviewing your images, you can literally review and you can scroll through your images one after the other after the other. It's like a flicker book. You can just run right through them. There's no delay. There's no lag. Really is a really good camera. 6 frames per second, it's fast enough for sports and wildlife, although it's a fair bit off the Canon 1DX's 14 frames per second. As I've mentioned though, it's half the price, so it's not really bad for what it does. Certainly isn't bad. The quality of the colour, something that still impresses me to this day every time I take a picture and I look at the screen and I think, it's a nice picture. It's just the quality of the colours that come through really is good. It's got a great tone range. The intelligent metering in the Canon 5D Mark III really is that. It's just absolutely spot on. It's one of the best metering systems I've ever encountered in a camera. You know, it really does give a true representation of what you're looking at. So the ISO range on the Canon 5D Mark III is huge. You can range from 50 to 102,400 expanded. That's 102,400. That is absolutely massive, absolutely mind-blowing. What I find is anything above 25,600 really isn't usable. It's way too noisy, too grainy. But what you will find is 25,600 will still give you a usable shot, especially when you're using something like Adobe Lightroom 5 with the you know, with the noise reduction filters that are in there. You can really turn that noise and tune it right out. It really is impressive. Again, shooting RAW, you know, you've got the full control there. The autofocus system is really complex on the Canon 5D Mark III, and I'm not going to go into too much detail because we'll be here all day basically. There's 5 menu pages specifically dedicated to the autofocus system. There's 61 autofocus points. Now compare that to something like a Canon 40D, which is a great camera. Canon 40D's got 9 autofocus points. Again, have a look at some of the other cameras that are out there. You'll find 61 autofocus points is amongst the absolute top. The 6 preset autofocus cases And basically all these just alter the ways basically that the camera will lock onto a subject and automatically track it. You can custom tune them a little bit, you can tweak them a little bit, they're all in the menu settings there. So basically it's just down to what you prefer. The robust construction of the Canon 5D Mark III means it really gives you the confidence to get out there and shoot no matter what the weather and conditions are. You've got a magnesium alloy body, which, you know, it's really good. You've got weather sealed construction. The weight, the feel, everything about the Canon 5D Mark III makes you want to pick it up and go out and take pictures. It's a really nice camera, really good. I know that Canon obviously can't make every camera out of the magnesium alloy because it just wouldn't be commercially viable. You know, they need to make them out of the plastic bodies so that they are commercially affordable for the end users. That said, the magnesium alloy bodied, you go and pick one up and pick one of the plastic bodies up, feel the two differences. You'll know what I'm talking about. It's night and day, it really is, you know, but it comes at a price. If you don't need that particular function, you don't need that, you're not really bothered about it, you're only going to use it occasionally, there's nothing wrong with the plastic body. You know, concentrate on the other specs that are more important. I use my 5D Mark III with the BGE11, the vertical shooting grip, which is this part just here. And basically, what that allows you to do, as the name suggests, it allows you to vertically shoot. You've got a nice button there and everything. All the controls that you would use this way are all mirrored on this side here. So it's nice and intuitive, it's easy, you're not looking around thinking where buttons are, they're all there to hand exactly where you expect them to be. That's the Canon battery grip. The good thing with this is, it actually takes 2 batteries. So not only does it make the balance and feel of your camera a lot better, a lot nicer, and again, this is nice and you know, nice, well constructed, weather sealed and everything to go with the 5D3. It actually doubles the battery life. You know, I've done shoot after shoot after shoot and you know, not needed to worry too much about whether or not the battery's going to run out. Again, you know, there's a nice visual indicator. You've got a display on the top which tells you all about your battery life. You've even got a menu system which will tell you all about your batteries, tells you the individual shutter count that each battery has taken. Because the camera automatically switches between which battery is using to power it at that time. So you don't, it's a very clever camera, and you know, it does everything you need it to do. So pretty much the best thing I like about the 5D Mark III over all the other Canons that I've shot with is the back screen. The rear display screen is fantastic, it really is. 3.2 inches. And the actual resolution that'll allow you to view your images, it's a true representation of what you're actually going to see on the computer. I can't tell you the amount of times where I've had previous cameras, you know, you take a shot, you think, yes, that's it, nailed it, absolutely perfect shot, couldn't have done that better, well happy with that. You get it back to the computer, you upload it, and you go, damn, could have done better. You know, that's unfortunately part of the learning curve. But also, you know, it could have been made better by the fact that you get instant feedback and you can think, right, yeah, it's not quite sharp. Could have done with that being a little bit better. I'll just retake it. You know, you've got the opportunity to do that if you know it's wrong. Otherwise, you're just shooting for the shooting's sake. But the detail and the clarity that screen will allow you to actually view your pictures in, it's fantastic. To round off, the Canon 5D Mark III is a fantastic camera for all shooting styles, whether it's weddings, landscapes, commercial, portraits, sports, wildlife, anything that you basically want to point that camera at and go and take a shot of. The camera, you know, is there. It's a tool, and no matter what walk of life you're from, whatever your background is, you know, like commercially, whatever, this camera will be able to turn its hand to it, and it will do it really well, you know. The only kind of point for improvement that I would like to see, and again, it's too late now because it's already out, but I just would have preferred a faster frame rate on the shooting. 6 frames per second, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. It does the job. I use it more than capably with the sports stuff. But there's just the odd frame where I think, I wish I'd just got an extra couple of shots of that, you know, when you're down there and you've got the bikes and somebody comes off, and you just think, I just wish I'd have had an extra couple of frames just in that burst, just to kind of fill in the gaps. And that's really where the 1DX comes into its own, you know, to go on about the 1DX again, but, you know, what can I say, that's going to be my next camera, but we're a long little way off that yet with the price of it. Like I say, for the price of the Canon 5D Mark III, and again, if you're going to start looking at one used, you know, you really can't beat it. It's absolutely phenomenal camera. So, you know, that's pretty much it. Would I recommend the 5D Mark III? Yes, without a question. It's one of the best digital SLRs currently available on the market, and that's pretty much it. Don't forget to check out my website, www.richardlukephotography.com. You can check out my Facebook page. It's just Richard Luke Photography on Facebook. Thanks for watching, and leave a comment below.